Okay, so we're going to start talking about one of my most favorite things. No, it's not He-Man. No, it's not Superman. It's not Batman. Although I do like all of those things quite a bit. Let's talk about contracts. Now, in a perfect world, I would sit around all day long and make deals or multi-million-dollar deals involving contracts and just be, happy as a clam. But, unfortunately, I still have to do some family law. But when we talk about contracts, just as a basic premise for contracts, as long as both parties agree and it's not illegal, you got a contract. Okay? So, a contract involves a promise or commitment or exchanges of promises or commitments to do or not do something. I'll cut your grass for $50. You say, okay. All right. I cut your grass. You give me $50. Did we enter into a contract? Sure we did. Did I get my money? Did you? Did I? You better pay me my $50. Otherwise, I'm going to have Leonardo come after you. Now, a contract may not need to be formal or written. It can be just like what I just said. Hey, if you'll give me $50, I'll cut your grass. You say, okay. Alright, I go cut the grass, you give me $50. Hey, let's do business together. Okay. Shake hands. It could be a promise to perform or not to perform. I promise to cut your grass if you promise to pay me $50. Okay? I promise, not to walk my dog in your yard if you promise to not walk your cat in my yard. Okay? It's legally enforceable. In all these examples, did both parties give something up? Yes. Was there an offer? Was there acceptance? Yes. Were all these things legal? Yes. Did we all have capacity to enter into the contract? Yes. No one was drunk under those particular facts. So the contract has to be legally enforceable. So there has to be a remedy if one party breaches their contract. It involves a buyer-seller relationship. You go to Walmart. You buy a flat-screen TV. Okay, did you enter into a contract? Yes. Contract lasted that long, and then it was executed. All right. Where does contract law come from? Well, it comes from a number of places. The UCC, for one, Uniform Commercial Code. And the Uniform Commercial Code has been adopted just about in its entirety by all 50 states. A bunch of pointy-headed professors got together a couple of years ago and said, hey, we need uniform laws relating to contracts and the purchase and sale of goods that will, transcend all state lines. And that's a good thing. Because certainly, if you're in the great state of Tennessee and you want to buy and sell goods in the great state of Georgia, you want the rules to be the same on both sides. Contracts of goods. All right? Contracts in and of themselves, they show us how things should be done. Believe it or not, I don't freehand write contracts on a daily basis. If I need to write a contract, I look and see, what has the firm done in the past in terms of contracts and modify them slightly to fit the needs that I have for my clients. Also comes from common law. Judges' decisions. What is unconscionable? What is legal? What is an offer? Was the offer definite? Was the acceptance communicated to the offeror? Consideration. Was there really a bargain for exchange? Was the person over the age of 18? All these things have developed over time through case law. All right. Now, current classifications. Bilateral and unilateral contracts. Well, a bilateral contract is simply a promise for a promise. I promise to cut your grass if you promise to pay me $50. Okay, that's bilateral, promise for a promise. A unilateral would be a promise for the action. I promise to cut your grass if you give me $50. Okay? How do you get that $50? Well, you got to do the action. Once you do the action, you get the $50, and that's acceptance. Okay? So a promise for a promise is bilateral. A promise for an action is unilateral. Express terms. Those are when the terms are discussed. The parties know what is going on. The parties know that the purchase or the price for cutting the grass is $50, and that I'm going to do it. All right. Then you have implied in fact, and this is one of my favorite examples of an implied in fact contract is going to the barber, sitting down, and getting your hair cut. Okay. You go into the barber's office, you sit down, you get your hair cut. Did you and the barber discuss terms? I didn't hear those facts. Did he cut your hair? Sure he did. You had to pay. Probably some of you are doing this now. Do I have to pay? We didn't discuss terms. I just sat in the chair. There it is. You sat in the chair. It was implied from your actions that you came into the barber shop to get a haircut. A reasonable person would sit down in the barber's chair, get their hair cut, snip, 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 and as a result they would have to pay for those services. Implied in fact contract. Similarly, an implied in law contract, neither discussion nor conduct, but one party is unduly enriched. So you get this enrichment. As such, you're entitled to compensate the other party. Now, contract enforcement. Enforceable contract means the court would uphold the validity. And basically, what that means is that all of the elements of the contract are there. Offer, acceptance, consideration, lawful purpose, and capacity. Alright? So you have all the things. You have an enforceable contract. What about an unenforceable contract? Party has justifiable reason for non-compliance, meaning they didn't enter into a contract. Okay? Valid, very similar to enforceable. All the requirements are there. Void means that some of the elements aren't there, and then voidable, one of the parties has the right to withdraw. Whenever I talk about voidable contracts, I use the example of a kid buying a car. You have a 16-year-old, not 18, not at the age of consent, who goes to the Porsche dealership, buys a brand new Porsche, $50,000, maybe more, maybe less, who knows? I've never bought a Porsche, and drives the car. All right, that contract is voidable. Okay, that minor can get out of it. But then, of course, the kid pays the note, turns 18, pays the same note. He's ratified that contract as a result of turning 18 and continuing to pay on the contract. So it's been ratified, and so it becomes an enforceable contract. Now, what about performance? Executed. You've been killed, okay? We take Manny Faces and he's executed. It's finished. Alright? An executed contract is a contract where everything has been performed. Now, executory, promises not yet performed. Performance is important in most complicated transactions, but the way I like to explain this one is you buy and sell a home. You put a house under contract. Okay? You say, hey, I'm going to buy this house for $100,000. And it is now executory, meaning it's not been performed yet. But it is under contract. So for that 30 days, hopefully, while you wait for the attorney to get all the paperwork together, you get the finance company to get their paperwork together, you get the real estate agent to get their paperwork together, you get the home inspected, you get the home fixed, yada, yada, yada. All these things are going on. At closing, whenever all the paperwork is signed, all the money exchanges hands, it is now an executed contract. So executory is a house under contract. Executed is a house that is closed.